Now streaming on Apple TV. Imperfect Women is a sexy murder mystery told from the perspectives of three women, Nancy, Eleanor, and Mary, who have built a friendship over 25 years that has made them like family. The three women thought they shared everything with each other: their fears, their hopes, their dreams, and their secrets. But when Nancy is murdered, everyone becomes a suspect. Eleanor and Mary are left to uncover the secrets their friend kept hidden behind her seemingly perfect life. As the investigation unravels, the two women will stop at nothing to find out who is responsible for their friend's death. Lines are crossed, boundaries are broken, and friendships are tested. This sultry thriller will keep you on the edge of your seat. Starring Kerry Washington, Elisabeth Moss, and Kate Mara, Imperfect Women, now streaming only on Apple TV.
People don't realize, like, there were no Housewives back then. People built an appetite for wanting to see every detail of a woman's life as they get followed by reality cameras.
No,
But
you're
this
wrong,
was-
Danny. It's not every detail of a woman's life as they get followed by a camera. They only care when it's a disaster. People are really red meat for that. And speaking of red meat, the poster that Lisa and I actually asked HBO to do for the first season was a woman standing in a meat grinder, grinding herself up to make TV. It says television, it's a grind.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Kevin Fallon, and this is Obsessed, the podcast, where I guide you through everything in TV, movies, and celebrity nonsense that we think is unmissable. And today is a very happy day, but it's also the last day of our Obsessed Rewatch podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Dan Bucatinsky. Hi, Dan.
Hi. I'm so glad that we got to do this comeback rewatch together.
And we're going out with a bang, the biggest bang, with royalty himself, Michael Patrick King, the co-creator of the comeback along with Lisa Kudrow, is talking to us about the show. It's so great.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, working with Michael and knowing Michael as long as I have, and of course, we've been working on the comeback since 2004 when it first started. But we're like a family, and being able to come back and do the show every 10 years, but now to be able to have him in the studio. We are premiering on HBO Max on March 22nd, and we're cutting episodes and finishing them and color timing them, and Michael is so busy. I'm thrilled that he said yes to coming back and doing the Rewatch podcast.
Yeah, and it's huge because he and Lisa did this together. It is both of their babies. They wrote every word. They talked through every storyline. They spent those 10 years in between seasons thinking up new ideas, whether it would work, whether it wouldn't work. So we really do get the expert behind the scenes stories from him.
And even though I've known him for as long as I have, there's so many things that I've never asked him, like things about how he and Lisa worked together and how he came up with certain ideas and took big swings, and what it was like in the writers, even pitching the show when they first pitched the show to HBO.
Yeah, and we get into his stories about the very first scene of the comeback and how it clicked, which, was sort of profound for me as a comeback fan to hear that behind the scenes. We talk about when it also clicked to bring it back for season 2 and for season 3, like how they arrived at the genius ways of reviving the show after a decade. He has such great stories. I cannot wait for y'all to hear them. So now here is our conversation with Michael Patrick King. Hello, 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 Michael Patrick King.
Hello. I'll go one more. Hello.
Oh, we got 4 hellos.
That makes it not Valerie, because no one can do Valerie, so I did 4 hellos to make it my own.
Yes, well, I made a promise when this show was announced that it was coming back that I was going to do everything in my power to make sure everyone in the world watches this. So,
Kevin, why do you think I'm here? I heard about your promise to the universe, and I am applauding it and internally grateful for it. Thank you.
and Dan and I are so happy to talk to you. We've gotten to talk to all of our favorites on the show. Lisa was here, Kellen Lutz was here, Damian Young, Laura Silverman. I mean, it's been a blast to just talk through seasons 1 and season 2 of the show, getting ready for the season 3 premiere.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's an eclectic group, especially when you're tagging Kellen. I can't wait to hear what Kellen had to say about his performance as Chris.
Oh gosh, that was really fun, wasn't it, Dan?
It was great. He was oddly, he was very emotional about the show. It means a lot to him. It was one of the first jobs he ever had in Hollywood, and he was really kind of moved by the whole experience and was so excited to come back in season 2.
It was so thrilling in season 2 that Mullen and Kellen had actually graduated to movie star status
Hmm.
so that we could bring them back as the same characters who are movie stars in real life and sort of play with the idea of that actually happened. It happened to them and it happened to Juna and Chris. So that was really fun.
It was really fun.
That's been the genius of the show over the last 2 decades, is that what's happening on the show is this like not even a funhouse mirror to what's happening in the industry. It is a real mirror to what's going on in the industry. And I kind of was hoping to talk back about the very beginning of the show. I was just rewatching right before this, the very first scene with that high pitched noise that says raw footage. And then we see Lisa as Val trying to, prepare herself for the camera and she's chatting with Jane. And I'm just so curious, how did you and Lisa know that this idea was gonna be something that was going to hit on what was happening in the industry at that time? Because my recollection of 2004 is that we didn't really know how humiliating that genre could be for the participants at the time.
I mean, this really is the universal answer to any creative question. You never know if it's going to hit. All you know is that you're going to follow a vibration, or if you were a dog, a scent for something that's special or a comic. And with Lisa, from the very first time I had my lunch with her, the minute she opened that Valerie portal, that vibration, it was just a baby beginning of the character, but the vibration, the vocal energy was there, and I immediately started laughing. So all we really were trying to do was follow that laugh. And it's interesting, in anticipation of this extensive exploration of our show, did look at the first episode and I hadn't seen it. I didn't look at either of the seasons before we started season 3. I know Lisa did, but I did not, because I didn't want to chase a thing, because when we did season 1, we didn't have anything to chase. And when we did season 2, we were chasing something new. So, what I remembered, again, to use the word vibration, was the vibration of Billy, the vibration of Mark, the vibration of Jane. So, like, I didn't look because I think I was a little bit scared to look at it before we did season 3. But I looked at season 1 pilot today,
Mhm.
and I think everything you need to know is in that first scene. And I mean, you even mentioned the sound of the comeback thing. That's so arresting and off-putting. It's like already telling you this might hurt.
Mhm.
This might hurt a little bit. It's already not soft, the noise you're hearing. It's piercing. And then you come into that beautiful shot of Lisa and her face, and the camera's right here. And what I sort of took away was so interesting to me was that I now know why Valerie works from looking at that first scene. It's because Valerie thinks but doesn't say it. And all you're catching in that first scene of Valerie when she's talking to Jane is her thinking about what Jane's saying and how it affects her. Like she's in her head, just turning those gears to sort of look out for herself. But she also doesn't quite believe it all. She's she has a suspicious internal head and a bright, shiny, absolute happy external. But her internal is completely communicating a different story than her external. And that's still to this day. And what's so interesting over the 21 years or the 3 seasons is I think Valerie's internal is becoming more external. She's actually crossfading into a person that she's been inside that she hasn't let us see in a weird way. And the other thing I love about that first scene is, of course, Esperanza, because she's the first key that what you're going to be seeing are real people trapped in front of a camera. And so the moment that I've always loved, and I think it's like a tell where we're telling the audience this is funny, is the sound of the Diet Cokes falling in the refrigerator. But it keeps falling to the cartoon element. Like it becomes a cartoon. It doesn't just fall, it falls and it falls and it falls. And that oral cue was to tell the audience things are going to be out of her control in a off-camera way, and that's what the season is all about. Things are being out of her control in an off-camera way.
This is my comeback. You know, I want to do another.
Mrs. Val, I'm here.
Good morning, Esperanza. Here she is. You remember we talked about this? Said that reality cameras would be starting today. Remember? Just pretend they're not here and just be spontaneous. Just Jane. We're not gonna be able to use this.
It's all raw footage. We're not going to use it all.
That's right. Okay. That's all right, dear. Just, you know what? Just, oh. Okay. Don't worry. Just go about your day. You know what I'm saying? You can put it back where it belongs. Everything where it's supposed to be. I'll fix it, dear. That's all right. Just go ahead. Oh, all the zones fell. I don't know the order. All right, no one open a Diet Coke. We'll have an explosion.
I don't know. There's something about Lisa's wildly contrasting exterior and interior that was so clear from the first minute. And then we just had the fun of growing the world around her and choosing what parts to pull away so that you expose her a little bit. But yeah, I just think it's really been quite an evolution, is an evolution of a series. It all started just from following beat to beat to beat to beat to beat to this character. What can we do for/to this character that makes us laugh? And the shocker, the cold shower of the first season was that half the world thought it was tragic and half the world thought it was the funniest. So the split made it very curious as to what our future was.
Yeah.
It was just, it really was it was the Zabruta film of sitcoms. Like everybody just kept trying to figure out why it died. No one knew who killed it, why it died. It just was a weird thing. People couldn't stop. If they got it, they got it. And that was before, if you know, you know. I mean, that was literally, I used to joke that the comeback fans in the first season were like the early Christians. They were all gathered in a cave somewhere secretly, and they knew something special was happening and they believed in it, but you couldn't say, you couldn't go wide with the information.
I don't know why this is the Zapruder film of comedy isn't the tagline now on every poster for this series.
Because I just thought of it.
But Michael, people don't realize like there were no housewives back then. Reality television was limited to these competition shows. And the notion of watching a woman be as vulnerable or as naked as that. 8 years later, we had built a kind of people had gotten used to it, and people built an appetite for wanting to see every detail of a woman's life as they get followed by reality cameras.
No, you're wrong, Danny. It's not every detail of a woman's life as they get followed by a camera. What people are still watching, which was the original DNA for Valerie, every detail of a woman's life as she falls apart in front of cameras. The
Right.
only thing people watch The Real Housewives for are the moments of watching someone fall apart. Nobody cares about the happy scenes. No one cares when the fucking Easter bonnet party is a delight. They only care when it's a disaster. So people are really red meat for that. And speaking of red meat, the poster that Lisa and I actually asked HBO to do for the first season was a woman standing in a meat grinder,
Oh my God.
grinding herself up to make TV. And the
Wow.
light touch of the poster was that what's coming out is her shredded, sparkly sapphire gown. But we knew that this was a woman grinding herself up to make television. And we knew how hard that idea was. That's why we pushed for that poster. It says television, it's a grind. That's now very common, but at that time, no. And even further, more interesting, we got bootleg VHS tapes because I knew somebody who was one of the writers on the Osbournes, and she got us bootleg tapes of their dailies. And that's where the color bars came from. That was the beginning of, we saw
Yeah.
that on the tape. And then we saw how boring it was and unedited and lax and dead time, downtime, so much downtime before the editors ever got their hands on shaping it. And that gave us permission, which also scared the shit out of me at one point, to do scenes where nothing is happening except Valerie's twisting in the wind. We did an episode in one of the first seasons where she goes to return sheets.
Hmm.
And that is our existential exorcism creatively of, and Valerie goes, nothing's happening. She says to Jane, nothing's happening. And that was us trying to exercise our fear that we were doing a show about dead time.
And there was a magazine, obviously, that's the episode where there's a magazine article in whatever, Entertainment Weekly or whatever, that's all about the death of reality because it's like it better be sexy.
That's interesting because the whole birth of the comeback was about the birth of reality TV and people's panic in the writing rooms that their jobs were going to be taken away. And even within that, like episode 5, Entertainment Weekly was already saying reality TV was dead. So
Yeah.
people are always they're always saying something's dead in television. Drama's dead, comedy's dead, sitcoms are dead, procedurals are dead. Like it's so, hopefully the AI scare is one of those Y2K moments where nothing really does destroy the world.
Nothing apocalyptic. I get asked this all the time, and people think the show is improvised. It's so scripted. It's so beautifully scripted by the two, by you and Lisa, and crafted, including how much Valerie from the jump, which is why I loved you said this. Like you can tell what the show is and who she is from the very first episode, where she's trying to have some control over something that Jane really controls. So she's like, "Oh, so is that the camera that's gonna? Oh no, right." So she's reframing and trying to control her narrative the whole time. But all that seems improvised, and it's so beautifully scripted. Everyone thinks it's improv. Don't you get that
No,
question a lot?
constantly. And I always have to say every that Lisa says in that first season is scripted. We almost had, like, I actually tried to price a court stenographer because when Lisa is doing Valerie or when we're all improvising scenes, it's so, I'm going to say the stuff that's wrong that Valerie says is so right that I always try to get the wrong verb or the wrong syntax or where she stumbles and just goes and so, but court stenographers make a fortune more than TV writers, so we couldn't afford it. And also, so we started paying very close attention to those things. And when Lisa's writing, she's Valerie, but she's writing Juna, she's writing Paulie, she's writing Billy, we're all writing. But when she's Valerie, and her like those broken syllables and the misnomers, she would look at that script because the other thing, I don't know if people really ever clock this, Valerie Cherish has never left camera in 21 years of the comeback. There's no scene where she walks away and Paulie says, "What's her problem?" She's always front and center, scaldingly hearing everything that's going on around her. So Lisa would have like some days, like, 9 pages of dialogue, and she would use those scattered, broken things to get her emotionally into the Valerie thing. It was quite something to see.
And that's also really interesting because when you hear today's reality stars talk about the experience of filming their shows, they're always talking about how, oh, we don't see the cameras anymore. We don't even feel like the filmmakers are there. It's like not even a fly on the wall. We don't see them or feel their presence. But with Val and Lisa's performance, you never lose the sense that she is so cognizant of the fact that Jane is there, that the cameras are there, that she needs to try to control what they're seeing, what she's doing, what she's saying. It's a really interesting departure from the way people talk about that experience now.
That's because maybe, Kevin, everybody's so used to cameras now and everybody's on cameras now and everybody's curating their own reality show on Instagram and they're picking the filter and they're doing like everybody thought Valerie was tragic because she cared about how people saw her on camera. Like that was the big oof about her. Oof. So sad that anyone would be that aware of other people's feelings about how they're coming across. Come on. How many times have you seen on Instagram somebody crying and well, that's not the first take?
Right.
And they're not even an actor. They're not even an actor. They're like a cosmetic person. And the other thing about the first episode, Valerie's first video monologue, where she's talking about these kids and they don't know what's coming, there was no Instagram. There was none of that. You could put that right now on anybody's Instagram feed talking about their feelings about their horse, that it's a human being looking at me with big chocolate horse eyes. I mean, it's as insincere a performance as everybody is now. I was quite taken aback by that too. And then, of course, on our show, the comedy is Mark shitting behind her.
I'm feeling like I'm carrying the show.
What are you still doing up?
I'm doing my personal video diary.
What's wrong?
I'm feeling a lot of pressure. Mark, can you close the door?
Oh, Jesus, I have to defecate.
Well, I'm doing my personal video diary. I mean,
All right, I'm finished.
my God, the noise.
I have to tell you, I'm going to tell you a behind the scenes thing. When we pitched this show, it was to HBO, to Carolyn Strauss in particular, who was our great advocate there, the forward thinking Carolyn Strauss. It was always like kind of abstract. Like nobody knew. We would talk about the actress. But when in the pitch, Valerie did a little bit of Lisa. Lisa did, well, see, it's confusing, but Lisa did a little bit of Valerie's personal video diary talking emotionally. And I sat on the couch next to her and went, and Carolyn Strauss started laughing so hard. And I think that combination of defecating and pretension was the package that Carolyn understood. This could be a really interesting combination of different elements, but literally, I would have to do the shitting sound to illustrate what it was.
I remember that pitch so clearly because it was so not you had to act it out because it
Yeah.
was not it wasn't clear necessarily. You were forging a whole new kind of way of looking at somebody. I remember she goes, "I don't know what you're talking about, but you have to make it." And it was like the kind of thing you don't get someone saying that anymore.
I mean, then people looked at the script when we handed it in, and the first page is a monologue of Valerie talking without any indication that it's funny. And people said, "Is this funny?" And everybody calmed down when they heard Lisa in actor auditions doing Valerie. But I think that's also the great uh, thrill of her performance is that she never indicates that it's comic or tragic. She's like, leaves it up to you. And we don't have any music, which doesn't tell the audience this is a kooky comedy moment or this is really sad. So, Kevin, you're left alone going, oh, this is maybe that's why people think it's their show because they had to make it their own show by figuring out what they felt about it rather than what they were told about it.
Yeah, we get to score it ourselves. It's really interesting. Now streaming on Apple TV. Imperfect Women is a sexy murder mystery told from the perspectives of three women, Nancy, Eleanor, and Mary, who have built a friendship over 25 years that has made them like family. The three women thought they shared everything with each other: their fears, their hopes, their dreams, and their secrets. But when Nancy is murdered, everyone becomes a suspect. Eleanor and Mary are left to uncover the secrets their friend kept hidden behind her seemingly perfect life. As the investigation unravels, the two women will stop at nothing to find out who is responsible for their friend's death. Lines are crossed, boundaries are broken, and friendships are tested. This sultry thriller will keep you on the edge of your seat. Starring Elisabeth Moss, Kerry Washington, and Kate Mara, Imperfect Women, now streaming only on Apple TV. I want to talk about this idea of pitching because this is one thing that's always fascinated me about this show. Because obviously here we're talking about seasons 1 and season 2, but there's a decade that happens in between these seasons. And I can't imagine, especially because we know that obviously you did come back 10 years later and you've come back now 10 years later again. The amount of times people must have come up to you and be like, I have a pitch for how we can bring Valerie back. Or you and Lisa might have talked about that. How many times over the years have people approached you with pitches about this? And what was it about this idea of what happens in season 2, where Valerie is trying to pitch her own pilot to Andy Cohen, and it happens to coincide with this prestige drama waiting to cast her again?
I mean, first of all, Danny's one of the people who is constantly pitching Valerie does this, Valerie does that. And they were all good ideas. I mean, Lisa and I had many lunches over the last 21 years. And my whole thing is like Valerie makes a artisan beer is hilarious. You know, like anything Valerie does to me is funny, but it's not big enough to be a machine that drives her. So we had Chicago. We had,
Mhm.
in the first episode, spoiler alert, Valerie's cast in Chicago. We had that, but it was never a series. It wasn't enough to come back for. We thought it was hilarious, but it wasn't enough to come back. I mean, the word comeback is right there. We couldn't come back with just Chicago. That's like, and
Right.
so we had to do more. So once the first season was really just the idea of reality TV. When HBO asked us to come back 10 years later, the idea of HBO and me returning and Lisa returning to HBO then became, well, let's just do that. Let's make it a return to HBO. So once we decided we were going to do that, then we were like, okay, what's happening? What's happening in the world right now? And it was prestige cable, dark cable, True Detective, women without makeup on TV, very special people. Hey, I never saw her that way. So that was that thing. But every time we start in the last 2 seasons, there is the answer to your question, what has she been doing? So with season 2, we came up with Valerie's her own producer, and we showed everything that she was be doing since then. Student film, which she kept calling an independent film, hair care, like NCIS, everything we could do to say she's still active. And then we just got into the dark reality of seeing red, which is what was
Before
happening.
seeing Red, I want to bring up, which is one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, which is her failed attempt at being a Real Housewife with Lisa Vanderpump. The raw footage of that is one of the funniest things I've seen, where she's trying to she thinks she's warning LVP about the horrors that await her if she goes on with this, and how she's not going to allow it to happen to her again. And then meanwhile, we
Yeah.
find out that she's trying to pitch a show to Andy Cohen.
Yeah, that scene is pretty special. That's one of those weird meta reach right out of the television and bring you into both realities, the Valerie Cherish reality and the reality that you are watching at home. And the thing that's so great about that scene is Valerie doesn't want it seen, but she can't turn off the computer that has the footage on it. And the reason she doesn't want to see is because she has learned that the reason that failed was because of her. She didn't get it because she didn't understand that out of that disastrous reality TV reality, you get famous. She still thought famous was shiny and clean and not reality housewives dirty. You're a junk. Splash, glass breaks, like table flips. So she didn't want to connect to that. But that was years ago. And now when she sees Andy Cohen, and it's one of my, part of this is kind of psychic. We're like, who would be with Andy? And we're like, who's happening right now? And that was right before Drag Race went nuclear. And Rue said yes. And it was the first time I'd ever worked with Rue. And it was just like, when you see it now, it's like, oh yeah, Andy and Rue. Perfect time capsule for what that is. But what I love about that scene is the beginning of the use of the iPhone as cameras. That was just new. People will be able to have their cameras in their pockets. So they throw the reality cameras aside and we're into this. But when she leans into Candy, that should be his name, Candy Cohen. He's sweet. When she leans into Andy Cohen and goes really close, too close, I get it now. I get it. The look of horror on his face is like she poured like acid in his ear or she licked the inside of his ear. I don't know what his actor sense memory was, but it was like, oh, Valerie, you just revealed too much to someone who's not open to it. It's so desperate.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, that's perfectly said. You just revealed too much.
Do you know RuPaul?
Yes, I do. He's got that show.
Yes.
Hi, Valerie Cherish.
I heard.
I loved Valerie's first sitcom, I'm It. We used to watch it in my dorm room and smoke dope. So fun. Val is legendary. Tried to work together a few years ago.
Yes, we did.
We did.
Yeah.
What are you up to now?
Well, just working on a little something right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought you were texting. Are you shooting or?
Well, it's not for broadcast, don't worry. Yeah, just doing a little pilot presentation, little something. But the host wouldn't let us bring in the actual cameras, you know. Actually punched me in the stomach.
No way.
Way.
You're kidding. That's hilarious.
I know.
Did you make a scene or what?
Right, yeah, well, shut up. But cameras caught it, so, you know, you'll see. I think this might be right for you, you know, want to show it to you.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. Send it to me.
Great, okay, I'm gonna let you get back to it.
Okay.
Before the host comes over and breaks a chair on my head, right?
That's great. Great
Good
to see you, Val.
Yeah, and, I get it now. Okay, didn't get it before. That, you know, took myself too seriously, you know, didn't know I was playing a character, thought it was me. But I get it now. Okay. Good. Enjoy your lunch. So nice to meet you. Okay.
Great.
Bye-bye.
And again, it's those moments where people are like, oh, it's too cringe. It's like, it's not too cringe. It's honest. It's transparent. You see what she's after and what she wants to say. I mean, that scene was incredible.
I would like to offer here that the new word for cringe should be me. That's too me. Every time when somebody says that's too cringe, I would like, you know, like in therapy when they say you're selfish, you're that, and the therapist always says, well, just imagine that's them saying, I'm selfish, I'm that. Whenever I hear someone say that's so cringe, I mean, they really mean that's so me, meaning
Yeah.
that's so human. That's
Yeah.
so, which is why I think what's so exciting about the third season, because I can't think of a more human person than Valerie Cherish to put in front of a machine AI. Like Valerie is so human, which is why I think I'm drawn to her. She's both sincere and false. She's open and closed. She's strong and fragile. Like everything, the best part of being a human are the contrasts that we have. Like I'm so this and I'm also that and I'm also that. So the idea of Valerie, the most, I don't know, unthinkable, put in front of what are people now saying is
The most powerful.
the ultimate destruction of show business, made us feel, to your question many years ago, that I'm still answering, is that why we decided to come back this time is because the drumbeat for the industry is once again in a very apocalyptic frame of mind. It was for season one with reality show, and now it's really loud. So it felt like, all right, that feels like we're coming back with a path the way we had a path season one. Didn't know what it was going to be, just knew that's worth coming back. Valerie against the machine.
Yeah, but listen, the time capsule notwithstanding, and like the big stories that two told and one told, and certainly three tells, we can't I can't understate how brilliantly also you have layered in the actual fabric of relationship. I mean, the fact that season 2 is not just about her, that she was once on this show, or did a an infomercial. The fact that that HBO series is about Paulie G's heroin addiction, that his relationship with Valerie Cherish is what led to writing of this dark comedy, and she winds up being in it. It's about relationship, and then all of that impacting her marriage. Like, there's so much real life, real emotion, real character that is like you said before, is why it works. It can't just be her doing Bridgerton or her doing Chicago, because that wouldn't
Is she
sustain.
doing Bridgerton? That's a good pitch.
Season 4. Yeah, but I'll talk to you about
There
it
is no
off.
season four.
Right,
Listen,
I know.
like here's the thing. Any good writer, or yeah, any good writer is open to what's around them. And so like the idea of a comedy writer who's also a heroin addict is in the world. I don't want to name, but they are out there, and successful. There are also, Valerie's a cautionary tale to me about your eye on your career and not your personal life. I mean, that's one of the great, and it wasn't just me. Lisa had a very, very, very strong sense in the very beginning. And Lisa has two things every now and then that I don't understand where they're coming from. But she's a kind of a very shy, steely writer. Like she'll say something, and if it doesn't get responded to, and then she says it again, I'm like, okay, that's really loud if she says it twice. And what she said in the first episode pilot was, there's a leak. There's a leak. There's a water leak. And I was like, what are you talking about? We're doing a show about a television pilot. She goes, no, there's a leak in her house about a home. She's not paying attention to her house. And I was like, okay. And that became the symbol of what Valerie's going to do. While she has her eye focused on her career, an entire wall of her house is gutted because she didn't do the wife slash real reality thing about getting your water fixed. And what I love most about Valerie and Mark, and it was very important to Lisa and me both, that Valerie had a husband who thought she was hot. And even in that little video thing I talked about where he shits, at the end of that, he leans really close to the camera And they don't know the lens is on. She looks so beautiful and vulnerable. And he comes really close and he's really handsome. And he says, "You'll be great like you always are." And when I saw it, I was like, wow, we really put that they have a sexy kind of necessary connection. And then the fun of season 2 was Valerie's mania to please Pauly G that she gives over the house. Well, I'm sorry, Valerie's mania to please Pauly G so that she gets more good stuff. It's never just about the other person. It's always about what she also gets. That it destroyed the walls of their marriage. And
And the
one of
wall
my
of the
favorite,
garage.
everything comes from life. I had my garage. I bought a new house and I wasn't even in there. And all of a sudden I went to the house, lifted up the garage door and shit blew through the wall and was coming down the driveway. The only thing that was different was Brad Goretzky wasn't there in a white suit to fall in it. And I was like, one of the great joys of being a writer and is that I don't have to just live with this shit. I can write this shit into something and then maybe people will laugh at it. But that actually happened. Yeah. But their house blew up and their marriage blew up. And that scene in the parking lot, that's killer. And it's killer only because, well, they're great. It's great. But it shows you where a series can go
Mm-hmm.
if you're allowed to let it grow. I mean, when she starts crying and says, you don't think I'm something, I'm something," like that's the same character that's standing in front of a mirror going, it's so great that if you get the right combination of people and actors in studio with our case, and weirdly studio with our case, because they took us away and then they gave us back. I mean, it's like, okay, that's weird that the baby was thrown out. And then 10 years later, the baby was invited back. And now here we are 11 years later and we're back again. But I love the fact that you don't know what it's going to be. You just have an impulse that you follow. Kevin, did you want to see another season? I mean, aside from but like, did you worry about risking it?
I don't know if I worried about risking it. Of course, I wanted to see it. And I think I had ultimate faith that it would work out because season 2, Miracle of All Miracles, did work out. But my experience over the last decade was what we were just talking about before, which was constantly wondering if it did come back, what would it be? I think I had heard a rumor at some point over the years about the Chicago thing, and I thought that was hilarious, and I really wanted that to happen. And hearing you talk about why that wasn't its own season makes total sense to me. So I think, especially when it was announced that it was coming back, and it wasn't announced with the logline yet, I was like, my mind was just racing. What could it be, and how could it live up to the genius of commenting on the industry while still being this Valerie tragicomedy?
Well, first of all, the log line, which is so annoying, if you're writing something that you have to come up with a log line, this was the cleanest, easiest log line once we hit on the idea. This is what got us Casey Bloys at HBO, who is HBO, saying, yes, Valerie is cast in the first multicam written by AI. It just goes, it's simple and it's clean and it goes, yes. Valerie, you know the fear of AI, you don't know what it is, but that is the log line. And we didn't have that until we had that. And in the very last lunch, Lisa and I were once again, I'm pitching, 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 pitching. She's not hitting, stepping aside. Listen to me making sports references. That's for all your straight guy friends. That's for all the straight guys watching Obsessed. I'm throwing him right over the plate. And she's just not swinging. That's my straight character. Anyway, and then she said, "Oh, it's too bad Valerie wasn't here during the SAG writer strike." And we were like, yeah, she would have been hilarious trying to co-opt that as her personal moment. And then we were like, well, why do we have to not? What if we go to the past to start? We don't have to be right now. We can come back to right now. And once we got that, because we had also left, one of the other big ideas we almost pulled off was during the pandemic when all those actors were doing Zooms where they were reading scripts from their TV pilots that went. Lisa was like, oh my God, we should do a Zoom table read of I'm It. And in the middle of Valerie hasn't even read it. She just put it together. And in the middle of it, you just realize this is the most politically not current, racial, homophobic, like all the jokes from the 90s would not fly. And we knew that that was funny. But once we got the idea of we could go to the past for that, just for that, because at the end of the strike, all the significant thought for me that I remember taking away was, well, we're going to have to do this again in 3 years because of AI. So in our show, we start at the end of the strike, and 3 years later, boom, here we are. And it just happens to be exactly where the world of television and movies is right now.
You said you were psychic before. I mean,
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wish more than psychic. I wish I could control the future, but I can't.
Kevin and I have talked about this a lot. You took such a big swing when you thought Valerie would step outside of the Emmys and cameras for the very first time ever in the history of the comeback. The cameras that are capturing her are objective. And it was scary. It was scary and it was bold and it was perfect and it is brilliant. It is brilliant. I wondered where that came from and how you knew that taking that swing was right.
Well, we were sitting there and we were in the writing room. And I remember that thinking, how can reality cameras be at Mickey's bedside and not have it be the opposite of what we want Valerie and Mickey to be at that moment? And then literally a whisper, like a whisper in my ear said, she leaves the cameras behind. And then I said to Lisa, she leaves the cameras behind. And Lisa goes, oh no, that's scary. But it was built out of the need to have Valerie truly connected to Mickey in the bedroom and in the hospital room. And so I didn't see that ever happening. So we had to make a life choice. She chose a person over television because the conventional wisdom of Valerie is that she would do anything to stay on camera. She would sacrifice anybody for her career. That was like the early read on her was that she really wasn't sensitive. She was really just more driven than a human. And so the idea that something would have to be bigger than her need to be on television, that would be the life and death situation of somebody who's so close to her, was a simple thing. It was, I want to admit, the end of the season too. So we didn't really think we had to go past that choice. And I'll tell you something. When she comes out, and it's sort of like, Dorothy Gale going through that door.
totally. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's filmed like a movie. The colors are more diffused. Lisa looks different a little bit. But she then walks out of the theater and goes down the red carpet. And when we were about to film it, we had all the rain outside. It was all fake rain because we wanted, it to be not a perfect day. I looked at the shot and Lisa was rehearsing it. And I was like, this is too perfect. It's boring. I don't know. And at that moment, the tarp above ripped open because of the rain, and the rain came pouring through and onto the carpet. And I was like, okay, now it's a comeback Valerie scene. Because as she comes out, she has to move around this disaster to keep going. So that was a gift, just like the thought is a gift from whatever story people in the world make that. And then coming into this season, our big question was, now what do you do? You've gone into the looking glass. You've gone out of the looking glass. How are you gonna maintain Valerie and Mark in reality now and still have people tune in and say, "Oh, yeah, I love the comeback." Not, "Oh, I love Igmar Bergman's scenes from a marriage," which is what it could look like when it's filmed cinematically. And there's a scene in the second season where Mark comes home and it's just him and Valerie in the house, and there's no laughs and it's just them. And I was like, "Ooh." And then we got the idea of social media as a camera, and then Jane's still there, and then everybody's on FaceTime. And so I thought if we could, that game where you put a nut under three walnut shells and you're like, which one is it? Like, if we could confuse everybody as to, if we could throw in so many cameras that people stop thinking about them, they wouldn't think, well, this isn't the comeback. So we start very much the comeback, rough footage and stuff like that. And we gently sort of finesse the end of season 2 into the whole of season 3.
Well, it's beautiful. I mean, I always thought Pinocchio becoming a boy is sort of the end
Yeah.
of 2, but then it's a decade later and there's all this perspective. There's all this perspective now.
It's all a giant swing. And what are you going to do? When you get a thought whispered in your head, you're going to say, no, I'm scared. Now is the time to get scared now that you're done. You can't be scared in the middle of it or the beginning of it. And that's the great thing. Like when Lisa and I are together and we're just doing it, like I said to her the other day after we saw the last episode cut together, I was like, how do we think of this? Like, I don't remember thinking this up. I don't remember how we got to Z from A. I remember A, I remember the beginning of it, but I don't remember it's almost like it gets done, even though I know we're working really hard and we're both pulling our hair out and we're eating goop lunch without even looking at each other, just take out lunch or blah, 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 and we're talking about the characters and improvising and writing and saying yes, no, yes, no. It still doesn't feel like we did any of that once it's done. It's so crazy. And it's such a treat, and then to be able to put it on its feet and watch all these actors run around and watch the journey. Since Danny's here, I'll talk a little bit about Billy. I mean, Billy's journey. When you see Billy in the first episode and he's fucking those glasses and pushing that looky-loo around on the street, you just know, okay. And then you'll see in the third season, he's still that guy, but everybody changes. And what's interesting is to be able to show that, but also hopefully you still see that lady that you want to see, that Valerie Cherish. That is kind of daunting, and I think it's really daunting. It must be very daunting for Lisa to have to live up to that.
Well, the treat for the audience, I've gotten to see the episodes, is that it's pulled off. It's pulled off beautifully.
My heart's pounding at the exposure that you've seen what we've done.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that my Jane is giving us the we gotta go signal.
Rachel,
Rachel, yes, but Rachel's my Jane, and we gotta go. But I just want to say, as a fan, this has been so much fun and interesting and insightful, and I can't believe that I got to pick your brain about all these things. It's just been wonderful. Thank you so much.
And I just want to say thank you. People work really hard on all their stuff. And it's a rare treat to have anyone say they're obsessed with anything that you do. So I really, really am grateful that you cared enough to be obsessed with the comeback all these years, because so many people don't get this chance to have their work reflected back at them. So thank you for being obsessed. And I really appreciate the time and all the energy you put into your mission statement of pumping the whole world to get ready for season 3.
It's gonna happen. Can't wait. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Tim.
Michael. Thank you. Thank you.
See you later, Danny.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hello, hello, hello. I mean, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Well done.
This is the last of our comeback rewatch episodes, but my God, was it so much fun. Thank you, Michael Patrick King, for chatting with us, for chatting with me and Dan. The stories you told are just a dream for a fan to hear.
Yeah, I'm really, really grateful. I mean, Kevin, it's so great to hear your questions. So many of them are things that I may not have ever known. I mean, we've worked together for all these years, and I was there from the pitch all the way through the end of the third season. And there are certain questions that just I never even asked him about what he and Lisa's process is like. And I'm really glad that he was able to talk about that, talk about fear and how it drives them towards good ideas. But then, of course, once you have to launch it into the universe, that's when you get really scared, because that's when there's nothing you can do about it. It's been great. It's been great talking to Laura Silverman, who plays Jane, and Damian Young, who plays Marky Mark. Of course, Lisa, and some of the insights into being Valerie Cherish that I had never even heard before. Kellen Lutz, who played Chris. I have to say, every single one of these episodes has sort of a secret that emerges that I had never known, even in working on the show for 22 years.
And you left off a name on that list, Dan, yourself. Acting on the show, but
Wow.
also behind the scenes on the show, seeing all the auditions, what it was like to pitch it. You just have all the stories from both sides, from all sides. So thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity. And as Michael so aptly said, you've made it your mission to make everybody a fan of the comeback, and this is really one of those ways, and I appreciate it.
Yes, and I hope that you rewatch the show. Seasons 1 and Season 2 are on HBO Max right now. I hope you re-listen to our episodes, and let us know what you think. Did you have a favorite interview from this rewatch experiment that we've embarked on and had so much fun doing? Do you have a favorite comeback moment that hearing the behind-the-scenes gossip and juice about it just really made your day? Let us know in the comments. We love to hear from you. And as always, subscribe to us on YouTube at The Obsessed Channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe to my Substack at obsessed.substack.com. Thank you to our producers, Devin Rogerino and Rachel Passer. And as always, Dan, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin, for letting us have this opportunity to be obsessed.